Station Talk, powered by the Firehouse Tribune, with your hosts, Tom Marciano and Nick Higgins, two firefighters with a passion for all things fire service related. On this podcast, Nick and Tom sit down with fire service professionals and others to discuss their topics, their lives, on and off duty, and all things fire service related. So sit back, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Station Talk, powered by the Firehouse Tribune.
All right. Welcome back.
Another
Late
episode.
night.
Yeah, I got a late one tonight.
Late night edition of the Firehouse Tribune.
Yeah. And our
Station
returning
Talk
guest.
after dark.
Exactly. FHT after dark.
That's it.
Love it.
This one. So, we have our good friend, returning guest, EJ Henninger, back on the show.
That's right.
Because you just put out an article in Fire Engineering.
Yeah, super excited. This one's been a long time in the making. I was actually just looking earlier tonight, and I found my original notes because my process for writing, I have a setup where I kind of start with an outline, and I develop it, out from bullet lists to short things to more talking points like in paragraph style. And my original notes were from December 21st, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, and it took a different turn over time. It was originally going to be more tactics based, not relationships based. So I spent a lot of time talking with different people, from like former chiefs to current chiefs I knew. I hit up quite a few people for different perspectives, and like I said, it ended up just morphing over time, and I'd put it down and forget about it and pick it up and keep going, and then finally just decided a while back, I'm just going to make this concerted effort and finally just get this thing done and get it out there, because I needed something. I just, I had to get something out there, do something. It had been too long, and I needed to, some tasks to focus on that, hopefully would turn out to, bring some, I don't know, happiness, whatever. So I needed to pick me up.
When did you submit it to him?
It's a good question. Took it wasn't too terribly long ago. It seemed like it was, it was something kind of out of the blue, something different, so, and a little more unique. So they kind of, I don't want to say they jumped on it, but, I think it was quicker than the last time I went through this with them, and quicker than another one that I've done. So
That's not so bad.
Yeah.
No.
What kind of gave you the idea to do it? Like you said, you started back in 2020, but like what was your initial thoughts to start? Like, I'm going to jot this stuff down and try to do an article for it.
So my initial thought was more tactics based. Coming from work and being on different sites. One of the sites I spent a lot of time at, they actually, I don't even want to say they had a fire brigade, because they have a legit fire station on site. I mean, they're recognized by county.
Okay.
They support county hazmat, and the site itself is a monster. It's a miniature city, and actually, so their deputy chief, I became, I don't want to say friends with, but we had a pretty good working relationship, and I think my relationship with him as consultant and client was a little better than some of the other people in my office. I think because he knew I had the firefighting side to it, so I had that practical mentality, not just the book smarts. And actually, the first time I gave my building systems presentation was at our county command officers seminar. And he took my breakout session. And I remember, like, when he walked in, I got scared. Because I was like, not only do I know this guy is very technically competent, but now I'm not just representing myself. I'm, in a way, representing my company. So if I got up there and did something stupid or said something stupid, I could be putting a work relationship in jeopardy. So I got really nervous. But he really liked it, and he would jump in and make comments and provided discussion to the topic, and it was awesome. So, like I said, originally this was going to be more tactics based, so I was talking to guys like him, and then there's a volunteer fire department, just off the fence line that'll come in to back them up. This place was a major pharmaceutical company. They got a lot of hazards. They got a lot of high value material. So, I was kind of curious how that working relationship is. How they, and I tried to talk to the volunteer chief too, because I wanted to see how this played on both sides.
Right.
And then locally, we have a high hazard industrial park. So, like, I talked to my old chief about how that worked. I mean, I had a little bit of knowledge of that. So this was, like I said, it was originally more tactical based, but eventually just kind of evolved into more general relationships over what I'll call the life stages of a building, like design, construction, and operation. Who you need to be talking with and why you need to talk with them. So
that brings me to the first question I want to talk about, because I jumped on it when you sent me the link to the article. I even PDF'd the article and everything else, so I could save it and I could read it and reference it. So coming from your background in engineering, having the firefighting background as well, who do you talk to? Who would you recommend for a lot of departments? Because there are departments that don't know who else to talk to. So in the building stages of any facility, who would you recommend these fire departments start getting in contact with?
So that's going to be tricky because it's going to depend on the kind of situation you're in. The easy answer is if you're getting drawings submitted, like for permits to review, you want to find out like who's submitting the drawings. Are they coming from the engineer? Are they coming from a building owner? Are they coming from a contractor? And start there. Whoever's providing the drawings, start there, and then you can work your way through that relationship. I know where I am, which is very rural, it's not uncommon that if you have a fire marshal, he might do inspections and things of that nature, but he's not necessarily doing plan reviews. There's a good chance the municipality has an engineering firm basically on retainer that handles those tasks for them in lieu of like a large permitting office or, building review department. So, and that's one of the things as an engineer, like I'll reach out to fire marshals, especially if I've never worked in that township, and I'll be like, hey, do you guys have any special requirements? What kind of FDCs do you guys use or want? And I've seen the gamut, because hey, I can open up a code book and do a design and give you a fire department connection with 2.5 inch Siamese, which I mean I don't know how you guys run, but we want a Storz.
Right.
Yes.
So, I've been in municipalities where they want a visual indicator outside. Like we did a major corporate office in northern Jersey a ways back, and it had multiple FDCs around the building for different zones. So there was a red beacon light on the building above every FDC, so the fire department could locate it very quickly. And if that zone was activated, there was a strobe that was initiated on the outside. So not only did they know where the FDCs were, they knew which system was working and which one they had to get to. So, like I said, the engineering side, I'm reaching out to the fire marshal, but from the fire department side, you got to figure out where this information's coming in from through the design process and just start there.
So
makes sense.
So yeah, you're talking about the Siamese and wanting that connection. And in your article, you have it in there indicating a 2.5 by 2.5 by 4 inch Siamese connection to meet code. There are many fire departments that don't really understand any of that. Just you just know that because they're not with the zoning board, maybe not with with planning, or having conversations with anyone, having that knowledge. So, where would you start to start giving the firefighters that type of an education to know what to look for in this process?
Selfishly, take my programs.
I mean, not a bad way to start.
Yeah, no. But in all honesty, see if you have a local engineering firm, and see if they'd be willing to talk with you or work with you or explain things, or just again form, if you can find somebody like that, form that relationship where you can go ask them questions.
Right.
I just got in a little bit of a back and forth on social media. One of our clients, very specialty type stuff, and he's their main fire protection person is actually from my area, and I'm pretty sure helped co-write the original Firefighter 1 program for our fire academy, which is kind of cool. But we were having a conversation back and forth about trying to get an engineer, design engineer, as a member of your fire company.
Right.
So they can be a part. They can explain things to you, kind of that, like on retainer thing we talked about earlier. So if you go do pre-plans, they can come with you.
Right, you got someone right there in house.
Yeah.
So, going to another phase. There's a lot of renovations going on. Renovating buildings, whatever they need to do. What would you recommend looking at building systems? Are a lot of buildings, who's ever owned these buildings, are they changing many different variables of the building systems when they're doing renovations? Or are they doing more of just a patch it up, make it upgraded style type of work?
I think it's project specific, but I think if you get to the point where you're doing anything that's going to be a major system change or upgrade, or introducing a new hazard, or say on a fire protection side, you're changing a design density or life safety system, I don't think you're going to be able to do that like in-house. You're not using facilities maintenance guys. You're going to have to go out to a contractor. It's going to be a big ticket thing, so it's going to have to go through drawing reviews, permit process, and a lot of that stuff will get vetted there and identified. And that's where that relationship as a fire department with your like code enforcement or planning, they can tip you off to this stuff as they see it coming through. They can let you aware of it.
Right, yeah.
Got it. So I kind of want to break down, if you want to, like real quick, break down the steps of the article and each phase, because everything that you put into this fire engineering article, we probably should tell the listeners what the name of it is, but it's success starts early, building knowledge and relationships for effective operations. So with that being said, like, what are the steps, like 1, 2, 3, of what firefighters can do to have this early success with respect to building systems?
Yeah, and if you read the article, you get a lot of this. But to me, like I said earlier, the 3 life stages of the building or the design stage, the construction stage, and the operation stage. And we all know that, we've all heard it. When you start pre-planning, well, before the tones drop, right?
Yep.
But a lot of times, if you guys have something built in your municipality, how often are you there during construction, or are you just, when it's done, you get in like before maybe it's fully open, but substantially complete, which is good. I mean, if you're getting in there, but I think it's too late. I mean, I really think you need to have something in place during the design process or plan, which is going to be basically plan review. It's probably going to be the best time for you to get that info and catch it and find out if you have a new hazard coming in, or a specialty system, either a building system like atrium exhaust or fire protection system, like clean agent, things of those natures. Um, that plan review process is when everything is still on paper. That's the best time to really catch it, because you'll find that stuff. If you need to make a change, that's when it can get done without being costly. If you need to change your tactics, you can start talking about it right away. Or, if you need the design to change to meet your tactics, you can get it done then, because it's a lot easier to change something on paper than it is once it's already built.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so our building inspectors tend to reach out to us, and they'll take the spec of our biggest piece of apparatus, so our tower ladder, and they'll make sure that everything fits the spec that the tower ladder can get around it. And if they can't, then they won't sign off on it on paper. So once they do sign off on paper, they usually invite us for like walkthroughs of the construction. But I think you're right. We usually don't get that until closer to the end. And I feel like you should almost get 2 of them on new constructions, like maybe one at a halfway point, and then the additional one once it is all complete, so you can see what it's like afterwards. But I think you're right that a lot of times when we're doing these walkthroughs, we're getting them entirely way too late into the game.
Hey, even from the design standpoint, we'll do a lot of times. When we do our site visits, we'll go out. We'll do like rough-in inspections. So we'll go out before the sheetrock's up, before the ceilings are up, before everything gets buried, so we can see it at that level, and then that's when we can catch the big things like missing valves or whatever, and then we can go back, and then that makes the final one more of kind of like a fit and finish type inspection.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it makes sense on the design side, so it definitely makes sense on the firefighting side too.
Yeah, I've from my experience, my old truck house, when we were getting a new truck, we wanted to upgrade from a 75-foot stick to a 110 stick. So obviously the truck's a lot bigger, And we had a golf course, like a mini golf, driving range, go-karts on the side of town, maybe a couple blocks from our firehouse. And they knocked it, they sold it. And the guy who owned it decided to build condominiums, storefronts, all that, like make it like a little city within there. We would reach out numerous times, let's get some walkthroughs, let's get to the zoning, let's get to the planning board, engineer, meet them, see what's going on, see what they're putting in there, know where how they're building their systems inside these buildings. Got nothing at all. Gets built, and we see all the plans after everything was said and done, everything's signed off on. We see the plans of the entire, I guess, layout city. I don't know what you want to call it, but this community, and we can't fit our apparatus down the street.
No,
that's crazy.
Yeah, they made it so big, they made it so tight, and I know it's on a different wavelength of that, but again, it's not having that communication with the fire department, and even our fire inspector and fire marshals were saying, "Hey, you got to include these guys because you're putting stuff into these buildings, but you're also narrowing streets, which doesn't make much sense when everywhere else the streets are wider, and now you're making this community with smaller streets." So I've seen the sides where they don't include the fire department, and I've seen sides with the university we cover where they let us walk through everything, completely everything, whatever they're doing. Hey, we're building a new. We're working on the basketball arena, so we'll let you come on in, check it out, see the new renovations we're doing. Teach you how things work. We're putting new college buildings up, new classrooms. We'll walk you through it, teach you everything, show you where the FDCs are, show you where the shuttle, what all of the FDC room is, the elevators are, elevator room, what's in there, the different agents, any clean agents they have, everything. It was like an open book on
That's awesome.
everything that they want, and you could take as many pictures as you wanted, because I know some people are funny with that. Take
Right.
as many pictures as you want, come back as many times you want to ask questions, not during school hours. But that repertoire, I feel, is what helps the fire departments. I feel like we get that bad rap at times where they're saying, oh, here comes the fire department trying to make changes to us, and they don't know anything.
Well, yeah, and that's it, because you come in so late in the game, and you're coming in, and I don't want to say you have a chip on your shoulder, but when you start coming in and seeing stuff and it doesn't work for you, you're frustrated.
Exactly.
And you're asking for changes, and an owner's going to get mad because he doesn't want to pay for it. The contractor and the engineer are going to try and probably get out of it, and it just ends up you got all these people pointing fingers, and everybody just gets mad and frustrated, and it costs money and creates lost time. And just thinking about that, so we actually have design software that we can use different vehicles, tractor trailers, fire trucks, forklifts,
Right.
and it will model like turning radius, so
That's
we can actually prove different things fit. But it just kind of made me think, maybe I'm engineering that job you're talking about, and I go on your website and I see you guys have a 75-foot stick. So I tell my civil guys, hey, they've got a 75-foot. And he's like, okay, he uses that and he does his model. But I never called you, so I don't know that you have this new longer stick on order that's going to be there in a year or two. So
that makes
sense.
sense.
Even if what you have now works, it might not in the future. So again, that's that, just open lines of communication. And
right.
it just pays dividends. I mean, especially like when then maybe down the road when you're in a later stage of the building and you're doing inspections and you have that repertoire and that good standing relationship with the owners, just makes everything better and easier.
I think part of the problem is, like you mentioned a little bit earlier back, is that the money situation. So if, for argument's sake, if the road has to be 15 feet, but the fire truck 15 feet wide, the fire truck needs to be 20 feet wide, the building owner is going to want to be, I want 15 feet because that's what it says I have to have. It's the cheapest. And, building inspectors come back and say, well, the fire truck won't fit there, so we're making you have 20 feet. And he's like, well, I don't want to pay for that because, I think that's where a lot of problem comes in.
Yeah, is that 5 feet of building he's losing then?
Right. And that's kind of how it goes. It depends on the plot of land and all that different stuff. I have some places in our industrial park who are under construction and they can take, the extra feet from grass, so it's fine. But there is one building that didn't want to get rid of extra feet because they had to take it from the building. Because of where their plot of land was, it reached into a spot where you couldn't build. So, and they're like, it got into the whole, well, I'm not going to pay that, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
Building inspector's like, well, then you're not building here. I don't know what you want from me. So they pay it, obviously, because the land is more valuable to them than anything else. But
yeah,
it's an interesting, it's one of those interesting topics that, like we said last time you were on the show, is that no one really kind of thinks of, but it fits into how things have to work.
Right. And I guess it clicks in my mind because I can be on, I stay in it. I have feet in both worlds where I can be on the losing end either way.
Yeah.
So in the article, you've talked about replacing inexperience with knowledge. That's one of the sub sections of your article, if you want to, lack of a better term. What would you consider, because you broke out some things about being able to communicate and have that compensation for the lack of experience, pre-fire plan information, building plans. What do you recommend to firefighters, fire departments with the lack of inexperience to understand what they're looking for?
So, yeah, some of the things I mentioned in the article, pre-plan info, getting building plans, maybe satellite images, details of different, major pieces of equipment or systems in the building, or even contact information, something that simple. We don't need these giant folders filled with paperwork in the, in a milk crate or some kind of like file drawer in a command box in the back of, the chief's vehicle. Everything can be, on a thumb drive or on a laptop or a tough book.
All right.
You can drop all this information in, Active 911 or I Am Responding, where you can link to it through your response software. So, it's just easy to data mine for all this stuff and then, get it in a very accessible location. But again, you also kind of have to be able to interpret it and know how to use it too if you're pinging it. So that's where, if it's like a system or a piece of equipment, maybe, you meet with, if you can meet with the installer or engineer or both at some point during the construction process and you can learn about it, then that makes that valuable. Or like I said, it can just be as easy as contact info, because I've already been stuck on scene for hours because we had no contact information for the building owner, and we had a specialty system that was in alarm and could not control it, and I it was one of those weekends where all the white hats went out of town, and it was me with the Chiefs buggy.
Yeah.
So,
I think another part of the problem is, you get to some of these corporation buildings, for example, like in my fire district, we have the industrial park, and then you get on scene, and they have their safety team, all right, and their safety team is doing, whatever it has to be doing, looking at its models and layouts and stuff like that. But the layouts that it has doesn't match like the alarm companies. So the alarm company is telling me there's a sprinkler over here, but the safety team says no, they're over here. Come to find out that like sometimes they'll come through and they'll change the sprinkler heads or whatever, and it doesn't get updated through the alarm company. Not that it might not be illegal, but it's almost like they don't know what's going on themselves. And so if you get, as you just said, a fire chief or someone who's not a fire chief, could be 2:00 in the morning, nonsense alarm somewhere you always go. You might get someone who's kind of inexperienced in the front seat, and they don't know what they're going to be looking at.
Right. So it's, again, relationships, I'm kind of beating it to death, but, you don't necessarily have to know everything. And we've kind of had this conversation with the building systems, but if you know who to go to get that info, that can be a big key.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times every firefighter wants to have the answer, but if we were talking this on another episode with someone else recently, you have to know your resources and know what their capabilities are to understand how to get the right people in place and the right job done to handle any situation, not just at a fire, but like a fire alarm activation on a system you don't know.
Yeah.
Or know what's triggering the system, how to get it out of trouble, what to look for, because like Tom was saying a minute ago, renovations, right? And sprinkler, what if you have the plans of where all the sprinkler systems are, all the heads are in that building, but you didn't know a year ago they went and renovated the place and they started moving stuff around, to meet the new codes based on what it's looking like now, because they completely gutted it, and now things change. So that would be part of it, right? I mean, thinking about, they do a whole renovation of a facility. They may move stuff to make it fit that new style. You just don't know.
Yeah. How are you catching that? Who's doing your annual inspections? Are they picking up on it and letting you guys know?
Yeah. And most of the time, not many people are. From, just general experience, that there are times where our fire marshal will say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we have. We have this building. They are going from a restaurant, and now it's going to be a medical facility. And we've seen that happen in my area. We're doing it all the time. That's all these urgent cares popping up. Things are going to change inside that building. Layouts are going to change, obviously. So there's going to be different sprinkler, position of sprinkler heads going to be different because now we're having drop ceilings, everything else. So I would imagine in your line of work, you're also taking into consideration the type of construction that it is, because it might be different for a type 1, 2, 3, or 5. I'm not even sure if you use that same terminology in your line of work, but coming from the fire side, just as well from that side line of work, types of building construction. So it probably does play a part in when they do those types of renovations.
Yeah, I know one of the examples I've used, I don't think it was in the article, but like Home Depots, for the most part, I think it's changed over years, but they build it. They have a template that they use to make to build these things, and I'm fairly sure that there's more than one sprinkler zone in these buildings, and depending on there, like the zone that covers paints, probably has a different design point than another area in the store. I've never seen one really get juggled around, but what if for whatever reason they decide to kind of move stuff around inside the store and you move that higher density design point into another zone? Is anybody really paying attention to that? Is anybody catching that? If they're just moving shelving around in the store, I don't know that warrants permits. So hopefully somebody catches it on the inspection the next time around and, is savvy enough to realize that they're doing it. One of the other things I remember, one of the talks with Steve Green, and we were talking about warehouses, and this is going back a couple of years, and there had been a couple pretty substantial warehouse fires. And, everybody says right away, well, sprinklers can't handle it. That's the problem. Sprinklers can't handle what they're storing now. And as an engineer, I know what we go through to try and design those buildings, and there's a lot that goes into it. Way more than I think the average person realizes. And one very probable scenario that can cause a problem is the garbage in, garbage out aspect. My design is going to be based on the information that I get. So if I don't get good information, my design isn't going to be as good as it can be. And I might be told that they're storing, contents in, I don't know, we'll just say cardboard boxes on wooden pallets. And we design that. Well, a couple of years down the road, somebody in corporate says, you know what, we're spending a lot of money on pallets. Why is that? Well, because they break all the time. We got to throw them out and buy new ones. Oh. Well, let's switch to plastic pallets so we get a longer lifespan out of the pallet. Okay, now we've just gone from wood to plastic. That's a problem. Then somebody says, hey, you know what? I bet you we could get another row of boxes on these pallets if we shrink wrap them so they'll stay solid. So now you've got another layer of plastic. Now you've got a water barrier, right? Is it, again, this isn't necessarily something that's going to be, a permit level activity. Right. But if this isn't getting picked up on annual inspections by somebody who's savvy enough to be like, oh, we have a whole different hazard here, or, storage class.
Now, would that warrant an upgrade in the system?
It very well could, yeah. Because when you go through storage, I mean, the decision matrix tree is ridiculous. But you go through, what are the contents? Are they flammable, limited, or combustible, limited, combustible, non-combustible? Are they packaged? Are they encapsulated? Plastics has its whole separate section. Rubber, paper has its own separate section. So, yeah, it very well could impact the design point of the project.
Well, I think we've covered a lot on this article and on this topic.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think everyone should check it out. Fire engineering.
Absolutely.
It's a great article. I was able to read it this afternoon a little bit before we came on here, a few hours ago, I guess, at this point. But it's a good article. It's not something that like you're reading and you're kind of just tossing it away. It's something that you're reading and it makes you think like, never really kind of thought of that. And it's something to kind of get your brain going, especially if you are going to be that guy like in the front seat. Obviously, all firemen, I feel like, should be aware of that kind of stuff. But I think you, as the officer's time, you're dealing with the construction and stuff like that a little bit more than the regular fireman.
Totally.
Yeah, and I don't remember if I said it in the article or not, but if you find that person and make that relationship either like the design engineer or your plan reviewer,
right?
If they're not one of your members or working with you, have them come out and drill with you. Make sure they understand, like if you're stretching to an FDC, what that means, so they understand the mechanics of your tactics and your operations. Get them involved so they can see it.
Absolutely.
Because, like I said, if you just work on paper, you don't get it. I get to see both sides, which is interesting. But on the flip side, sometimes it doesn't help, because I've had people come and ask me like, "Oh, hey, you're a firefighter, so on your standpipes, where do you want your hose valves? Do you want them on the main landings or the intermediates? How do you do that?" And I'm like, the biggest thing I got in my township is a barn. I don't have standpipes. I don't know, So I can't always reconcile the two worlds, but again, that's where knowing who to go talk to and find that information out is important.
Absolutely. It's about the relationships, knowing your resources, and
absolutely,
how to make it happen.
Exactly.
So with that, any what kind of, if someone wants to contact you, you want them to come reach out to you because you have some programs that can greatly help firefighters and fire departments understand more about building systems. Where would they get you for that? How would they, and what are the courses, first off?
So the easiest way to find all of my info consolidated in one spot is my website, which is buildingfirefighters.com. You can subscribe to my blog, which I need to do better at. And you also get some really cool Firehouse Tribune info as well. Since we cross share a lot of good information between the three of us, which is awesome. I really like. But right now, so I have my building systems presentation, which talks about HVAC, plumbing, electrical systems in buildings. I've expanded it since it started. I've started adding, which we've talked about in the past, some of the green building systems for green construction. So I'm talking about solar. I've added a whole section on inert gases, which is really interesting. So if you have like liquid nitrogen at a cryotherapy facility or liquid CO2 at a fast food restaurant for carbonization of soda, I'll talk about the hazards of inert gases. Thanks to Andy Starnes, I have a whole section in there now about using the thermal imaging camera to diagnose building-related systems issues and some kind of tips and tricks when you're using that camera. It's more about the camera than the building systems. But he was kind enough to share a lot of pictures with me that I could take and add them and kind of put my own spin on them. And then I also have a program about fire protection systems or fire and life safety. So I talk about all the different types of systems, wet, dry, pre-action, how they work, and get into a little bit of fire alarm, clean agent suppression systems, things of that nature. It's better than what you got at the the Fire Academy, which is, just kind of cliff notes on how things work.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just a basic thing to get you by.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd highly recommend taking one of them. You've done these at different conferences and done them. You're doing it for different area departments around your area as well. So it's a really good course, really good information from EJ here with a lot of different information to definitely help firefighters become better. You're building the development of firefighters for today's firefighting, today's world.
Yeah, and I'm always willing, like, if you come across something that looks sketchy or you don't understand, if you can get photos, reach out to me. I'll take a look. I'll see what I can figure out. If maybe I can do some intel from Google Earth, which I do in my building systems program. I'll go through, like your first due, and I'll try and find structures through Google Earth that we can talk about, and we'll do, I'll do like a fly through your first due, and we'll talk about things. Yeah,
cool.
I actually just had a department. I was down 2 years ago and did my program, and they reached out and they're like, hey, we're kind of wondering, we had some questions about these two buildings. We were wondering if you'd be able to maybe take a look on Google Earth. And I'm like, why don't you schedule some pre-plan or some walkthroughs? I'll come down. We'll walk through it as a group. We'll all figure it out together.
Right, yeah.
So I'm excited for that. That should be a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But it's always interesting, like I said, looking at what people have and finding all these different things. And like I said, I found green roofs around here that I didn't even realize were there on top of shopping centers. It's cool. You never know what you're going to come across.
Nuts.
So Tom, you got anything?
No, I think that's it. Just keep everyone. We could mention Blake.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing it. Short support.
Yeah. Yep. Blake was in a apparatus accident. He's the founder of Next Rung, right?
Yep, he's the founder.
Yep. Yeah. So, sounds like he's doing well though. Got a long road ahead of him, but it does sound like he will be okay. So, if you could do anything, hop on Next Rung or any of their supporters, and they got a bunch of donation things out there, fundraisers for him with hoodies and stuff. So if you can hop out and, he's someone that in the fire service has helped so many. So if anyone can give back and help him and his family, it'd be awesome.
Yep. I thought I had my sweatshirt sitting there. I was going to grab it.
Yours on, Nick? Yeah,
I have mine on. I have this.
Got my hat. Yeah.
They were doing this mental health one many years ago, and I jumped on it. Got the hat. EJ's got stuff for all supporters of Next Wrong, and pull for Blake and hoping he has a good speedy recovery and can get back out there.
Yeah, I got turned on to them. Fast Rescue Solutions did an event. Not too far, because Fast is local to me. So I got to go down. Bobby Eckert was there. I think all the proceeds went to support Next Rung.
Nice.
Jeremy Donch was there. It was really cool. But yeah, Next Rung they're just, I don't know.
It's a great organization.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
They're huge hearts, and they're there for everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's like one of those things that you don't really need. You're almost like, I don't need to use it, but if you need to use it, you're glad it's there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, I guess that's thank you, EJ, as always.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate the opportunity again. Looking forward to
absolutely
more opportunities and other adventures this year. Maybe we can collab more.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome.
And you guys got something big coming up too. So why don't you talk about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
couple weeks.
Yeah, we're heading down to Virginia Beach. So they have the Virginia Fire and Rescue Conference. Nick and I are both presenting on Friday the 21st. You have two as well, right?
Yeah, I have 2 4 hours.
Yeah. So I have two 2-hour presentations. I have an 8 a.m. and then I think I have like 10:30 or something like that.
You just got 11. The morning. You're just in the morning. Okay.
Yeah, because my plan is when I'm done with my second class, I'm gonna pop into your afternoon class. So
And
Yeah.
heckle.
and then I'll probably throw tomatoes at you or something.
Exactly.
But,
That's all.
ooh, this guy stinks. No, But no. So I think we're looking forward to that.
Yep.
I've been looking at the roster and stuff, and it seems like there's a few names that we're going to be there that hopefully we can meet and do some maybe like collaborations with and stuff. Or I'm actually hoping that maybe even one of the nights Nick and I can sit down around the laptop and maybe we'll do like a not a live but a recorded in person episode or something like that where we can kind of just bullshit, or maybe we'll find someone down there to join us. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But
we'll figure
I think there's some good names there. Then hopefully if anyone listening is going there, I encourage everyone to check it out. Even if you don't attend one of our classes, it looks like there's a bunch of cool stuff down there. So
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Very cool.
Should be a fun time. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's Virginia Beach in the winter. How bad could it be, right?
Yeah, right on the water, right on the ocean. We'll be all right.
That's right. We'll be fine. Awesome.
So,
all right.
That's it.
That's it, gentlemen.
Cool. Thanks again, guys.
All right,
And,
EJ.
You want to close it out?
We don't have to. I made an outro, remember?
That's right, you did. So,
so there we go. We're good.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, EJ.
Thank you,
Thanks.
EJ. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Station Talk, powered by the Firehouse Tribune. We hope you enjoyed today's content. We would appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star rating and or leave us a review. Be sure to stay up to date with our latest news, articles, podcasts, and events by visiting us on our Instagram page at FH Tribune or our website, thefirehousetribune.com, or on our Facebook. Just search The Firehouse Tribune. You can also contact us regarding our presentations, or even if there's a topic you'd like to hear on Station Talk. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, work hard, stay safe, and live inspired.